Bradford, what's up, bro?
Hey, good morning.
So you've been in the music scene around this area for a while now.
That's what they say.
Yeah. Well, how did you get into this? When did you start it?
Boy, here or
Just in general, man.
Okay.
Just in life.
So I moved to Shreveport in 2015. I lived in South Alabama my entire life before that. I started playing music there around 2011. Started playing music to begin with in maybe 2008, 2009. I actually learned to play piano. That's probably overstating. I never really learned to play that well, but started tinkering with piano at home and moved on to guitar eventually.
What made you want to start doing that anyways?
I was going to junior college where I was from, and I was home between classes. Despite what I might look like in public, it appears as if I'm this social guy and extroverted, but I'm really not. I don't have a lot of friends that I hang out with and things. So I spent a lot of time at home. I would go home between classes. Nobody's there. My mom had an old upright piano, and I just kind of started hacking away. And this was, I'm not the early days of the internet, obviously, but kind of as YouTube was gaining more and more popularity, and there was a lot more instructional material on there for learning to play instruments and things. So I relied on YouTube and just hacking away. Learned a little enough to sing some songs, not a lot, but enough that I could be dangerous. And took that to college with me when I went to the University of West Alabama, maybe an hour away from Thomasville. And I started playing guitar after that for the technical reason that I could not figure out this thing.
Capo?
with a piano. And I've never been the smartest guy. So I said, screw it, I'll just play guitar and I won't have to learn how to transpose things on a piano. Because all my buddies had guitars. My oldest two brothers played guitar. So it just seemed like the path of least resistance.
So that's how it works with piano. So you to change key and stuff.
Yeah,
you use
have
that.
To actually.
You don't have that, so you have to. Okay, yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, this is a cheat code.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah,
it makes things easier, especially. And there's a lot of musicians that will probably hate on me for saying this, but like for a guy like me that my set list is 500-600 songs that I can choose from. I mean, I like to play out of certain keys or certain shapes, so this makes it easy to do that. Your real actual musicians would probably say, you should learn the actual songs instead of cheating. It works for me.
And so you started playing guitar, and how did the music thing come from there, like the singing?
Yeah, so my older brothers and I started playing together. One of my older brothers moved back home from Tampa, Florida, and my mom was the head of the St. Jude's Relay for Life. I don't know if you're familiar with this. We do this around here.
Yeah.
She was the head of that event back home, and she signed us up to play like a 30-minute time slot. And we were like all excited, and we had 6 songs, and we practiced the hell out of those 6 songs for hours and hours each day, and played those 6 songs. We're riding high, feeling good about ourselves, and then somebody approached us and said, "Hey, I want you to play at my restaurant." And I was like, "Oh yeah, perfect. In a couple of weeks, perfect." It'd be 4 hours. Man, but we got these 6 songs.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we took the gig and we started just cramming material to learn enough. And again, I had been playing piano. I just really started learning how to play guitar. So my brothers took me and said, "Okay, for the first hour, you're going to sit up there and just play guitar and sing. And then the other 3 hours, you'll play piano with us and we'll all play, whatever." So that was kind of how I started with acoustic guitar and doing solo stuff. And we just played around town for a couple of years and had a few out-of-town gigs. And I cut my teeth, learned a little bit about making deals and a little bit about how to be a reliable musician. And some of that you had to learn the hard way. I remember my first no show. We'll never forget it. It was a little bar outside Camden, Alabama. I don't remember the name of it now, but I remember the name of the lady that owned the place. Her name was Miss Pat. She was super mean. She had a rat tail, and we no-showed on her because we got a call to go play a couple of nights at a place in Auburn, and we cut out. Man, we thought we were big stuff, and we went and did that. And then a couple months later, my guitar player and I went to that bar to watch a now friend of mine play, and we're sitting there, and then the bartender apparently told the lady that owns the place who we were. She had never met us before, and she came over and sat next to us, and she kind of was friendly to begin with, and then once she told us that she knew who we were, and she looked at my guitar player and told him she'd slap him dead in the face if he ever did that again. So we never played there, and they've shut down now. I think she's actually in prison, but it worked out. I haven't no-showed on anybody since then.
That's the one time, huh?
Yeah. So
and how long ago was that?
Oh, that was probably 2011, 2012.
Okay. So you've been doing this a bit over 10 years then.
Yeah, when I moved here, I stopped for a few years.
Okay.
Because of work.
Yeah.
I was just too busy.
And so, like, you have original songs. You have some original songs you play, and you do a lot of cover stuff too. Mostly
covers, yeah. I do write. Nowadays, it's limited by my time.
Yeah.
Between working full time, you might as well say working 2 full-time jobs. Between, like, this week I'll play 5 nights, Wednesday through Sunday night, and then chasing a woman, a toddler. There's not a lot of time to sit down. When I get that 45 minutes on Wednesday, I don't always want to sit down and be creative, but I do when I can, when I get the opportunity. But yeah, mostly covers.
But you just seem to like to play music. I mean, it doesn't seem like you're not chasing a record deal or nothing. You like to play.
It's a fun thing, and I always tell people when it stops being fun, I'll probably stop doing it.
Okay. But
for right now, it's fun. And it's kind of evolved from when I started, because I'm not not that I don't have ambition. I don't want that to be misconstrued, but I don't have that I gotta be a rock star. Like that's not how I view success. That's not what I think is me making it. I feel successful already. I like to think I'm respected by other musicians in our community, and that's success enough for me.
Well, I mean, yeah, you have a great, unique voice, and everyone knows who you are. Like, you've done that already, and I think it's great. I heard you play. Peanut and I were in Two Johns a couple weeks ago, and heard you. And I was like, damn, man.
Yeah.
There you go, repping. What was your influence on music? Like, what you because you do a lot of country stuff. You do some like southern rock stuff like that. Like, what was your influence? And like, because you sing some stuff, and I'm like, damn, he must listen to the kind of shit I grew up listening to. Because I grew up listening to 60s and 70s country with my dad, and I loved it, man.
My mom, growing up, I mean, she was people like the Commodores, people like the Eagles.
Gotcha.
But also maybe there was Jimmy Buffett, but she liked gospel music too. She played piano in church, and there's always stories about her playing piano in church with like my brother on her knee, to try and keep him occupied, or maybe me. I think she might have been done by the time I came around, but so she liked music like that. My dad loves Bob Seger. That was what he enjoyed. Though I don't know if he ever had a car that had a real good radio or CD player, or I guess at that time tape player. So I didn't hear a lot of that music in the car necessarily, but I remember my mom got a Ford Explorer that had a CD player though, and she would play those, had the CD book and everything. But no, when I started listening to music, the person that opened my eyes, the first band, I guess you'd call it, that I was in, a guy named Will Knight, a friend of mine, he was just immersed himself in music. And he introduced me to the Allman Brothers.
Okay.
He introduced me to the Rolling Stones, Rod Stewart, and he gave me all this music to dive into and listen to. And I always say, if people ask, like, my vocal influence or who do I try and rob from, it's always Greg Allman, Rod Stewart, Otis Redding. Those three. That's the top three for me.
So Otis, man, that you got me on that stuff. We grew up listening to that stuff too. I loved it, man. Anything like that, Percy Sledge, Otis Redding, like any of that, like that's like, oh man, when you play that, something's happening. You know what I mean?
And that's why when I brand myself, it's always country, soul, Americana.
Yeah.
Which most of what I play is country, yes, but it has that soul vibe, right? It's not necessarily soul music. And I may pull some of those songs every now and then, but that's the vibe I've always gone for. I don't want to be straight up honky tonk country, though I love that music. I love Hank Williams, love absolute Merle Haggard junkie, but that's not where I want to be limited to.
Yeah.
That's a challenge too when you just play a guy and a guitar kind of music.
Yeah.
You know, everybody wants like rocking stuff.
I want to get up and move around a little bit.
Difficult.
You know what I mean? When you start getting into the stuff that, you know, makes people raise the beer up in there. You know what I mean?
It's even harder when you're like a half-ass guitar player like I am. So
man, I mean,
Jimmy can do it. Jimmy Wooten can do it. He's good at it.
Jimmy, dude, you're good though. I just heard you in there, you know, kind of warming up the fingers in there. I mean, I'm horrible. I like kind of before the internet, we would like try to self-teach ourselves, and we get on. Well, I say before the internet, before YouTube. We would get on the internet and print out tabs. I don't know if you used to do that, but I might have been a little early to the game. We'd print the tabs out, and you learn the tabs of the song, you know, and that's pretty much as far as my little bit of guitar, you know, learning experience went. I played every now and then with my cousins and family. Like you, my grandmother, you know, she would sing and grew up singing in church, and all my uncles played, but I never really got any better at it.
Yeah, I can't say I've gotten a lot better. But the printing out tabs, I used to watch my brother. I guess there's a statute of limitations that has come and gone, but we used to go to Walmart and they had the Ultimate Guitar magazine.
Yes.
He would tear the tabs out of those magazines and fold them up, put them in his pocket. But
I remember we got the first act chord chart. That was like, well, you remember that?
Yeah.
You got the first
I never had that kind of stuff.
Oh, you didn't?
I always had to just watch people.
Okay. Well, see, I'm horrible at watching. We would get that and try to figure out, you know, and fingers be cramped for an hour trying to figure out how to place these chords. And now, man, I'm good to just, we never really wrote or played our own stuff. I would just copy, like, rip off Metallica riffs, you know, solos and stuff, try to learn that, because for me, it was easier to learn on, you know, electric, and then kind of transfer to acoustic. And now, I prefer acoustic, man. I prefer a good, beautiful acoustic set, you know.
Dude, I fell in love with acoustic guitar, and it's amazing to me to think that was a tree. And just when you think of that to what it is now, it's wild to think it's been bent and shaped and glued and just everything came together, that somebody figured that out, how to make that. And electric guitar is cool too, and you can do a lot of cool stuff. I play a couple of electric gigs a year, but like that's why I do what I do. Like I don't have the want to have a big band or anything like that. Not that I'm against playing with a lot of other people, but like I like what I do. I enjoy it just being guitar and vocal. And there's a challenge to that when you play 3 hours is can you keep people interested?
Yeah.
Right? You don't have people doing face melting solos, and there's not nearly as much showmanship to it. That it's definitely a challenge when you're playing those longer sets. But
well, you probably can't go too high or too low, I guess, really, can you? Because it's like if you go too high, then you bring it low, it's gonna. I mean, I can see where it makes sense, you know.
So but I've always been in love with acoustic instruments of all sorts, but I've never played anything other than guitar. But my oldest two brothers, we're half brothers, so we all have the same dad. There's 4 of us, and my oldest two brothers, their dad's mom. So it's not their granddad. The guy she remarried, so he was the grandfather figure for that side of the family. He was a bluegrass musician, and after he retired, he made it a goal of his to build guitars. And so I got to see that process up close, and we go down there and we work on our half-ass gear and stuff, and see what he was doing in some of the guitars that he made. Very fine instruments. And it really gave me a whole different appreciation for how it's made, because he would take 1 step forward, 2 steps back, trying to make it right, and it's a very intricate process.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how much time goes into those. You were talking. Let's tell me about this one, because you were talking about it earlier, and I want people to hear this because I've never heard of this brand. Because everyone always talks about a Fender or Taylor, or Gibson.
Yeah, I commented on something the other day that someone was talking about a Gibson guitar online, and I have played primarily Gibsons. That's like all my heroes played Gibson guitars or Martin guitars growing up, all the country guys.
Yeah.
So
Martin's a beautiful guitar too, man.
Yeah,
Oof.
and I've got a couple of those, and I've had a few along the way, but I've primarily played Gibsons. But I found this company. I started to become more obsessed because I'm kind of a purist. So a lot of people, when they plug their stuff in, they want all these crazy sounds and effects and stuff. And there's a time and place where I might think that's cool too. But my goal has always been, and I nerd out on this, how do I plug this in and make it sound just like this guitar, but louder? Right?
Yeah.
And just a pure acoustic tone. And it's a fact in most cases that old guitars sound better than new guitars because the wood is drier. It's just they sound better in every way. They're warmer, and you feel it even when you play them. I've owned several vintage guitars, but I've played some even better ones that I couldn't afford.
Yeah.
And you feel it when you're playing it, so I'm sure you hear it out front. But this company is called Atkin Guitars. They're made in Canterbury, England, and this guy started in 1997. He made furniture before he made guitars. This is number 1414, and they're up to about 2,600 now. There's still only like 7 guys that work in the shop. And what that gets you, this instrument as far as materials is no better than a Martin or Gibson, but that attention to detail and the quality that they put into the work is second to none, because they're building a handful of guitars a week, where your big manufacturers, Martin, Gibson, Fender, Taylor, they're stamping these things out in a factory. Now, they all have their custom shops where they're making guitars more comparable to that. And I've had those, and they're great. Nothing bad to say about the other manufacturers, but to me, this is better. And it's kind of my message on what I was posting on Facebook was, this has kind of turned my head towards these smaller shops where, yeah, they don't have the big brand notoriety that Gibson or Martin has, but their product is exceptional. And so my next guitar will likely be from a company down in Austin called Collings.
Okay.
And they make, like, Tyler Childers plays at Collings, Billy Strings, I don't know if you listen to Billy Strings, but he is used to play Collings, I believe, anyway, but now he plays Preston Thompson guitars. But you're great. Handmade, really high quality. If you need something, they're just down the street in Austin.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about craftsmanship and people, especially like yourself, like taking note of that, because I guess for the longest time, small shop, local, hands-on, that's, was focus. And then as everything grows, you start chasing these brands because of notoriety, because of people who are playing them, who they're signing deals with, and they're saying, okay, well, Fender's going to give you this, these guitars for your tour, or whatever it may be. And so people kind of, that's what they want to play because someone else is playing it who they like. And then now you're bringing it back. It's kind of coming back around full circle, bringing it back to the basics.
But it plays back to what I'm after. I want that pure acoustic tone. I want the best sounding instrument I can acoustically before you do anything to it. And that's what I try and tell people. I'm not going to say a lot of people like I'm somebody, but there have been several people over the years that have reached out to me asking for advice. They wanted to get started playing music, and I've never thought of myself as a mentor or good at what I do, at least not good enough to be somebody you ask advice from, right? And they've asked me questions, and I try and always say, you start with a good guitar. Don't cheap out on things, but also I might not be the one to listen to, because I'm not going to tell you to cheap out on anything, because I can't tell you how many thousands of dollars I've wasted on cheap gear over the years, and constantly upgrading things. So, but no, a good quality guitar. It doesn't have the name brand, but I can't tell you how many people come up to me and ask about that guitar and ask what it is at gigs versus playing the Gibsons and the Martins. Like, they know what it is. They usually don't come up and ask, but everybody hears it and they want to know what it is.
Yeah, that's. I think it's fun. I think it's great because I have appreciation for those things. I would be more of a collector than I play. You know, I'll pick them up and play them a little bit and then put them back down, and I just look at them. Right now, I've actually sold. I had a signed Gibson. It was signed by Clinton Black that I actually won at a concert, and I ended up selling it just because I was like, man, this is sitting here. Someone will pay good money for it, and I don't play it, and I don't want to play it because I don't want to mess it up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then I have an old guitar that my grandma bought me. And I think it's like Thompson guitar or something. It was $100 guitar. Yeah. And I'm going to keep it forever, man. I just put new strings on it once a year, and I'll pick it up and strum it every couple months maybe. But it's just going to sit there, you know, and that's the only one I even have right now. But I've multiple nice Strats before, but I just, you know, it's one of those things where I appreciate a nice, unique one, you know, but also I'm not playing it all the time either.
Well, and I have more than I should admit to probably, but
how many do you have?
I think right now they come and go, and I'll buy and sell and trade and do with all of them. But I think right now I've got 17 or 18.
Damn, yeah.
Which not all of them are at home. One of them's out on the road right now with Braden Watts.
Okay.
And Clay Logan has one right now, and one's up in Arkansas having some work done to it. One of my old Martins, and so they're never all at home at once, and some of them just stay in cases. And I'm not super sentimental about stuff. I never have been, but there are a couple that I'll keep that I know like they're not going anywhere. Even if I never touch them, they're not going anywhere. My first guitar I bought was an Epiphone jumbo body guitar. And it kind of went with my ego at the time when I was learning to play. Like, I wanted the biggest obnoxious guitar that I could find, and scraped up $500 and bought it. And then my goal was always a Gibson jumbo, and I bought that a few years ago. And then come to find out it's way heavier than anything I want to tote around and strap around my neck for 3 hours. So I never play it, but I'll always have it, I guess. But yeah, some of the old ones. Like my first vintage Gibson, I'll probably hang on to forever, or my first Gibson in general, I'll probably hang on. So I guess maybe I'm more sentimental than I thought.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Pretty much you're keeping all of them.
There's some that look like they were used as boat paddles, and you know, those are my favorite ones, the ones that have all the character.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting, even though the two exact models can be made, even streamlined in a big production, and they can sound completely different.
There's diamonds and there's coal made in every manufacturer every year. And then I've kind of learned in my, what Joe Bonamassa calls it, guitar safaris, as he goes out hunting old stuff. I've kind of learned to stay away from things from the 70s, and I don't know if it was the drugs they were doing at the time. Man.
It definitely was.
But there were some people doing some crazy things during the 70s with manufacturing. But prior to that, I have some stuff from the 50s, some stuff from the 60s that are pretty solid. But you're right. I mean, you can't just say just because it's a certain year model that it's all that. I mean, you can get some real duds. And I have one from the 70s that is outstanding, and I was surprised by it. But it wasn't not something that has a lot of value.
Yeah.
But it was a good guitar. It just happened to be good. But yeah, vintage stuff is cool. I don't gig with it very much because they're all pretty finicky. They don't like to behave quite right with cold and hot weather, and most of them, the tuners aren't very good, or they all need a little bit of something to keep them going. So that's what I like about this, is it's been aged, like basically in an oven. The wood was cooked and dried out, so it sounds like an older guitar, feels like an older guitar, looks like an older guitar, but it plays like brand new. Like it's
and consistent. You have a consistent tone no matter what.
Yeah.
I think that's important, especially doing this, playing as much as you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a lot of strumming every. I mean, have what 20 hours a week?
Yeah, some weeks.
Yeah.
Like this week, for sure, I'll play in 5 nights. So, yeah, pretty much. Some of them are 4-hour gigs. So
how often are you swapping string, having to restring?
That's the craziest thing is that even playing as much as I do, and I've got friends that are exact opposite from me. Everybody's somewhere different, but I can play like 2 months on the same set of strings.
Damn.
Most of the time. Some summer months when I'm playing outside and it's sweatier, they'll oxidize a little quicker, but usually 2 months. And then what the crazy thing is, the picks that I play with, I don't even think they have a gauge on them, but like if you're familiar with picks like 0.77 or 0.8 millimeter would be like a medium kind of gauge. Anything over a millimeter is pretty heavy, and these are probably, I don't know, 1.5 millimeter.
That's
really stiff.
Yeah.
But this was again going back to that like purest tone. Like I want something that sounds great, and playing the way I do, I don't play a lot of lead stuff, but I do pick a lot of single notes, and I need something that is going to be able to articulate that really well. So a heavier pick, but I have a lighter right hand, so I'm not hard on the strings as some of the other people I know are that are breaking strings left and right. I mean, they can't go a week on a set of strings, so I don't even think about it anymore like used to. I'd keep 2 guitars with me at all times just in case, a couple packs of strings. Like now it's like not even a thought. I just take 1 guitar. Maybe I got a set of strings in the truck, maybe I don't, and I should be more prepared. I think now.
What kind of strings are you running? Anything in particular? You swap it up? Or
I use heavier 13 to 56.
What brand?
Elixir.
Okay,
I've used Elixir for I don't even know the timeline. Since they were $13.99 a pack. That's how I think of it now. Now they're like $17.99 a pack. Thanks, politicians.
No, but I mean, you hear. I bring all this up, and I think it's interesting. One, because you value these things, and a lot of people don't ever talk about it. And two, I like to hear people talk about stuff that they're interested in, and the string and the guitar thing's always something that's controversial, or someone's always got an opinion about it.
There's a lot of guys that play that would never play heavier gauge strings like that, especially as much as I play, and it shows on my hands. It is tougher, and I'm kind of, people don't see this part, but like playing that much all the time and playing that heavier string, more tension, it's having a toll on my left hand, where I'm starting to have, or not starting to, probably the last year or so, having trouble with some early onset arthritis in my index finger and my middle finger, and so I'm kind of struggling with that. Figure out, can I change the way I play, some of the shapes that I use, and make that a little easier on my finger on those weeks where I play 4 or 5 gigs, which has also caused me to want to cut back a little bit. Like 2022, I played 196 gigs.
Damn.
And 2023, I'm on track to play about 155. So still a lot, but that 30 or so gig difference, I can feel it.
I mean, yeah, that's still on average three a week. That's a lot of playing, man.
It is, and again, on top of a full-time
You're not just
job.
Playing, you're singing too.
Yeah, yeah. Surprisingly, and I have, again, friends around here that everybody's different, right? And I don't have trouble singing 4 or 5 nights in a row, unless maybe if the weather's cold and dry or something. Sometimes it'll get to me, but that's a question I get a lot. Is like, how do you sing that much? It's like, I really don't know. I don't have an answer for it. Like, I don't warm up or anything like some people may or may not do, but I just go. And I always say, I guess my voice is just kind of battle hardened by now.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it, but yeah, it is a lot.
Well, what's some of your original stuff you've written that you like to still play or throw in sets or anything like that?
Yeah, so there's one that we were talking about earlier, recorded back in December, and if I can figure out how to put something on iTunes, I'll release it. As good as I am with,
I'm sure we know some people who can help you with that, bro.
As good as
I'm extremely particular when it comes to my vehicles, and I only recommend those who are the same way. That's why I always recommend SBC Autos. They take pride in their inventory, from badass four-wheel drives, clean classic cars, and even your everyday grocery getters. They have it all. No hassle, no BS. SBCautos.com.
And with gear and things, I'm not very techie.
Yeah.
But I sat down and wrote a song. I was going to pick up Rowan from daycare one day, and I was passing through kind of Keithville area, and I was looking at the cypress trees in the swamps, and I was thinking about, it was a breakup song, and I was thinking about a woman said she'll be gone before the leaves change, right? And went home and I started thinking through melodies and stuff, and what it ended up is like a bluegrass breakup song.
Okay.
And because I love country music, love all different genres, but man, I really love bluegrass, and I can't play bluegrass for shit.
That's a whole other
goes,
yeah. Whew.
But love bluegrass music, and I love those tones, the vocal tones, guitar tones, all of it. So that song, and it really, I think the name of, I don't know if I really ever named it, but I think we just called the work tape like Gone or something. But cool song. It wasn't a very long song, but just a bluegrass breakup song. And it might not be anything popular, but it was, for me, it was important to record it because I don't get the opportunity to sit down and write a lot. It's like, hey, here's your reward to yourself for committing that time and doing that. Go record it, now you've got it forever. And so I wrote one back in August. I wrote a song. I had the opportunity to go out to San Diego, and I played a corporate event at the Air and Space Museum in San Diego. Really cool gig. And when I was sitting out there, I had these big plans where the hotel was close to the USS Midway, big aircraft carrier. And so I was like, man, I flew out on a Sunday. My gig was on Monday night, and I was flying back out on Tuesday. And I said, I'm going to go to the museum tomorrow, like do all this history stuff out here. And I ended up, like, something hit me in the Airbnb as I had this song and just started writing. So songs usually, I would think they probably don't take that long to write when you've got something, in mind to write about. If you're not good at it like me, it takes you several hours. So I wrote this song. It's called My Home's in Homa, but it's about, it's very fictional, but a guy meeting a girl in New Orleans, taking her away back with him to California, and her hating it because she's a Louisiana girl, and then coming back here, and then he follows her, and it's all a happy ending. But so that was just a fictional thing, no story behind it really, just hey, I'm in the hotel room, got this inspiration, let's do something with it. And I sat down the other day, and I've got a little one on the way, a little girl that'll be here in January, end of January next year. And I was thinking about what kind of dad I'm going to be, because never been a dad before, and probably going to screw it up like all dads. But thinking about how I want to raise my daughter, how I was raised, and what I want to do the same, what I want to do differently. And I've always appreciated transparency. So the message of the song is, it's a love song to my kid, but it's also to say, hey, this world is kind of jacked up, but there's some good things too, and you got to learn to take some of that bad and some of that good and let both of them form who you are, right? Don't just be influenced by the bad and let that beat you down. Yeah. So you got to be able to see the beauty in it all. So it's sort of a love song, but a realistic view of the world love song, I guess. But I don't have any particular themes in writing.
Have you finished that one?
Yeah.
Man, I gotta hear some of that. You down to play it?
Yeah, I'll play it. If I can remember it all.
Would this be the first time you played it? Or have you threw it in some gigs?
Yeah, actually.
We gotta hear it. We gotta hear some of it. You ain't gotta play the whole thing, but I gotta hear some of it, man.
This was actually just I don't know, less than 2 weeks old, I guess. Yeah. I hope we can edit this because I probably won't do this right in the first shot.
Hey man, we'll leave it up to producer.
Yeah. Little girl, let me tell you a few things. This world is tough, sometimes mean. When you need me, I'll be right beside you to hold your hand and walk right behind you. Maybe you'll get your looks from your mama, with green eyes from me, with patience to follow. Work hard for everything that you wanna, and thank the good Lord for the things that you don't have. But girl, don't let it discourage you. You learn to fly, you're gonna fall down a time or two. You gotta learn to see the beauty in all your scars. And remember that I love you just the way you are. I hope you find most people are good, see their best intentions the way that you should. Some folks will burn you and take you for granted. You show up full, but you leave empty-handed. But girl, don't let it discourage you. Step to the plate, you're gonna strike out a time or two. I hope you learn to see the beauty in all your scars. And remember that I love you just the way you are. Someday there'll be a boy on my doorstep to take you away, all for himself. You're gonna think he's the best thing that's happened, and you come home to me with your tears on a napkin. And girl, don't you let it discourage you. You fall in love, it might break your heart clean in two. You're gonna learn to see the beauty in all your scars. 'Cause there's someone that'll love you just the way you are. And remember, Daddy loves you just the way you are.
Man,
yeah.
You got me tearing up.
Come on, man.
Man, dude, that's beautiful, man. It was beautiful. Look, when someone plays and sings, you get chill bumps, bro. That's real. That's real.
Man, and you know, that's a good point. And not that I'm you know, I would call myself an average songwriter at best. It's just not something that comes easy to me. I know guys that can just spit them out.
Yeah.
It's not something that comes easy, but what I always try and keep in mind is like, keep it relatable. I know guys that have written songs, like great songwriters, but they write songs that are so vague. They're meant to be deep. It comes out being so vague, you miss the whole point, right? And that's something I try and.
But do you think that's because they know what they're feeling when they write it, but they don't know how to transpose that to someone else, you know, or kind of deliver that message?
Well, and you also
bridge the gap, you know what I mean? You
also don't want it to sound like every other song that's ever been written too. So that's a challenge, which becomes more and more challenging every day, right? Because people are writing songs every day.
It's really a big challenge too when you're in one genre and you want to name yourself in just one genre, which we have a lot of bleed over in every genre now, which is kind of nice, right?
Yeah.
You know, but when you're just trying to stick to one chart and hit that one billboard, you're like, okay, well, it's got to not sound like anything else, but still keep this sound. Like that's pretty damn challenging. And but like what I like about what you said is you're just doing these as they come.
Sure,
they're coming naturally, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and write them.
Yeah, I mean, I keep notes on my phone. Someday a line will hit me. Like one of my favorite lines, I've never written a song, or I've never finished it at least, was thinking about toxic relationships and somebody you keep coming back to that you shouldn't. And there was a line in there that I wrote down that said, both of us knowing that it won't be the last time, but neither of us saying that I'll see you next time. So it's like, you're coming back. Nobody's going to say it. But I always get hung up on certain lines, and they're not necessarily the hook of the song, but I try and keep notes of that kind of stuff and work them in as I can. But then some songs like that is just say, I've got something to say, whether it's catchy or not.
Yeah.
It's just the message.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it can be fun. It can be frustrating as hell too.
Well, what's like, so if you're picking genres that you like to play, you said you like to play country, and then you said it's like some soul, blues-y stuff, and then Americana. So what are your favorite songs? Like if you're going to do a set and you've never played, like, cause some people you played in front of, you feel the room, it, but like if you've never been to this place, like what's your set list going in there? So if I gave you 5 songs, what are they going to be?
Man, I think
like to kind of showcase you know what I mean?
Two of them are going to be female 90s country songs.
Really? What?
It could be something Reba, maybe Fancy, or The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia. Those are always head turners. I really like Heads Carolina, Tails California.
Okay.
Love Strawberry
Wine.
That was Jody Messina.
Jody Messina, and Strawberry Wine was
Dina Carter.
Yeah.
That was one of my first crushes, man, when I was a kid. It was Dina Carter. Still a beautiful woman. But so probably 2 of those songs would be female 90s country songs, because that's something where I feel like I kind of set myself apart in what I do, just being a guy on a guitar, because not a lot of guys will reach out and get those female songs, and I don't mind it. Like my voice, I don't know what it is about my voice, it tends to kind of just work with those female vocals.
What made you want to try those one day? You sat down and said, man, I think I can make this sound good.
I don't know, man. It's music I love, right?
Yeah.
And grew up on. So I don't care if it's a woman or a man singing it. Like if you take the song Angel from Montgomery, John Prine's song, it's written, I mean, he wrote it from the female's perspective, talking about a man. So it didn't bother him. So hell, if it doesn't bother John Prine, why should it bother me? So, from the female perspective. So, and I used to try and change the words, like Strawberry Wine. I used to try and change it like to be from the male perspective. And then it's like,
it don't work.
That ain't the song.
It don't work.
That's not the song.
Yeah,
so,
it don't work.
Sing it as it is, but like some Miranda Lambert songs tend to go well. Yeah.
Huh.
Like Famous in a Small Town or Tin Man. Or,
Okay.
More Like Her.
Tin Man by Kenny Chesney, when he did that song.
I haven't heard it.
You have never heard that? Man. Okay. You got to hear it when you leave here.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Kenny Chesney did Tin Man?
Yeah, way before. It's a different.
Miranda Lambert's the one that cut it after him. I don't know.
I don't know if it's the same lyrics or anything.
Okay.
I don't know. How does hers go? Is it Times Like
Hey
These?
there, Mr. Tin Man.
No,
Yeah.
completely different. No, completely different. You got to hear this one. I'm almost guarantee you once you hear it, you'll probably want to play it.
Okay.
Man, that's a great song. I haven't heard that song in years, man. And it's way before it's when he had a cowboy hat on. It's way before he got flip flops and a ball cap, before he hit the Jimmy Buffett track,
Yeah. But I think, so that'd be 2. And then the other 3, like, I'm big into 90s country, girls and guys. But I'm also big into songwriters like Jason Isbell, Sturgill Simpson, Chris Stapleton. Those, yeah. So one would probably be a Stapleton tune. I get those requests a lot. One might be a Guy Clark song or something. Townes Van Zandt, one of the Texas country guys, old Texas country writers.
Yeah. And
then maybe a Cody Johnson song or something. Love Cody Johnson.
So you're ripping out some modern day stuff too.
Yeah. I don't get into maybe what's on country radio, like FM country radio at least.
I don't even know what's on there right now.
it's kind of hit or miss. Like, I listen to certain artists, and then, you know, when you play, I don't do weddings much anymore. In fact, I'm not really playing weddings anymore, but that's where I get a lot of pre-submitted.
What's your reason for not
lists.
playing weddings anymore?
Dude, it's not a bad experience.
Gotcha.
Don't get me wrong. It just for what I do, and I try and explain this to brides.
I know where you're going. Yeah.
So people hear me and they're like, "Oh my God, I want you to play at my wedding," and I'm like, "You really don't. You think you do right now, but when you get to that day, you're gonna want party music, right?" And I'm not saying I can't do some of that, but I can't pump out 3 hours of dance music on an acoustic guitar and just me. And I don't want you to be disappointed. I don't want to be disappointed. So I kind of stopped doing weddings. I'll do them for certain people that I know, and I don't mind doing anything for a ceremony or a cocktail hour or something like that. But I think it's just, and it's a lot more headache too. You got a lot more time invested in the gig that day. You're usually there early. Some people want you to do things for a ceremony and a reception. You got certain songs you got to learn, which is nothing bad about learning new songs, but it might be songs that you spend 3 hours of your life learning to sing for 3 minutes and never do it again.
Yeah.
And not that it's not worth it, but it's more than I'm looking for out of a Saturday, I guess. But again, I do a few each year, but not marketing myself as a wedding band, a wedding singer at all.
No, I completely understand. Now that you brought that up, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, they want a DJ and some party music, man. Yeah. DJ's the way to go, especially after
unless you get the big bands.
Yeah, the big band. Big party band. Yeah, a tribute band or something. You know.
Yeah, those are fun.
Can wrap it all up. But yeah, man, I think your delivery, your styles, you know, is unique. Your delivery's, you know, unique as well. But also, you can kind of adapt. And so we talked about some country. What soul you playing?
Oh man, I like Otis Redding. You get back to something. Now, I'm not necessarily soul, but Tina Turner and Whitney Houston.
Oh yeah, nice. You're singing that stuff too.
I mean, you know, renditions. Yeah. Not as it was on the record, but like "Missing You" by Tina Turner's great song. We do "Simply the Best," great song. It jams. "I Want to Dance with Somebody," you know, stuff like that. And then I don't know. It just whatever tends to roll. I played a couple of John Legend songs. I don't know now. My mind's racing trying to think, but yeah.
What's your favorite Prince song cover?
Well, the Prince song that Sinead O'Connor made famous was "Nothing Compares to You." Everybody always wants to hear that one ever since they found out I play it. And it's more like Chris Cornell did it.
Yeah.
But used to play in a band, a 5-piece blues rock band, and we would play Kiss.
Yeah.
And I didn't sing.
Oh, that's awesome.
There was a guy in the band that sang, you know, much higher than I did, but that was always a super fun song.
Yeah.
And that's one of my. But probably "Little Red Corvette" is my favorite Prince song.
Yeah, Prince, Hendrix, all those guys, man. But Prince is he's something special, dude. He really was. Yeah, but being able to play that and transfer that in acoustic in your style is what's always interesting to me, because some people cover and they want to cover exactly like that, and then some people
and
can't,
some stuff I do.
Yeah, but you still have your sound. You know what I mean? I think that's something that, you know, something that carries a long way, and people remember, because of course, people are going to remember someone play. I mean, they're going to recognize a cover and hear it, but when they say, "But have you heard him sing this song?"
Yeah,
and it sounds. I love that song, but when he sings it, I really love it. You know what I mean?
One of the biggest compliments that I get, or that are the biggest to me at least, a lot of people message me because I don't have like a huge social media presence, but I do have stuff on YouTube, stuff on Facebook, Instagram, that kind of stuff. And I just started putting stuff on TikTok. I don't really know how to use TikTok that well, but anyway, I'm learning in this new age. I'm learning.
That's where the kids are at, man.
But I have people message me from all over the world, like Australia, Europe, Canada, different places. And one of the biggest compliments is when people say, you know, "I don't really like country music, but I like to hear you sing." and it's country music, but I like to hear it, but I don't like country. I was like, well, maybe you should. Maybe you really do like country. You just don't know it. But some country music just played out, and I don't. That's why I don't like a lot of the new stuff. Nothing's original.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of modern. I'm kind of on the fence on some Texas stuff. You know, I'm a fanboy for Charlie Crockett. I probably bring it up anytime I'm talking to a musician on here. But what I love about him is it takes it back to like the pre-60s style, of the showmanship and the delivery, and the tunes, and the style.
And when I first heard of Charlie Crockett, I thought he was going to be this just poor sad soul sitting in the corner singing sad songs. But he's a lot more high energy than you would think.
He really is, man. Anytime you go to his concert,
he gives it his all.
High tempo,
Which I like that. That's not me. I've never been, like I said earlier, I'm not the extrovert. I'm not outgoing. I've never been even playing with bands. I'm not up there jumping around doing my thing. It's more of a, hey, I want you to be impressed by the work that I've put in and how it's delivered. It's not, I'm not up there headbanging and doing all that. It's just, hey, this is what I've got. This is what I want you to hear. I hope you enjoy it, kind of thing. More like, I guess that's more like a George Strait style of thing. He steps.
Yeah,
to the
but
mic
you
and
have
sings,
way more soul, man. I feel like George Strait. They do love him though. If you go, I mean, any concert you ever been? I've been to multiple concerts because my mom always loved him, so she would drag me there. And I mean, he's just sitting there, bro, just sitting there singing.
Yeah.
And thousands and thousands of people are sitting there watching.
Yeah, mine's more in the double digits than it is.
But I mean that's the venues you're playing, and what's great about that is there's an intimate connection, right?
Sure.
In a large space, a coliseum, what have you, you have everyone they're intertwined because they recognize the song, so they sing it along, and it's all this. But in an intimate setting, I think it's just kind of like comedy or anything else. You create a connection with the audience that you can't do. On a large scale.
But that makes you more nervous as an entertainer. Like I would rather play to a full dining room or a full bar or whatever. You don't feel like everybody's all eyes on you.
I understand.
And not that I don't get nervous anymore. The only times I get nervous playing music would be if like at a wedding. If I'm playing a first dance, that's a pretty monumental moment in somebody's life. If I screw this up, people are going to know. They're going to remember it. But other than that, I don't really get nervous. But when you have a smaller crowd, like you said, it is more intimate. You are going to have more back and forth. That's one area where I absolutely need improvement. And I know people that do it exceptionally well. And I'm just not that guy that is good with the banter and the interactions.
Shaking hands and kissing babies.
And people ask me all the time, like, why I'll play 3 or 4 hours and don't take a break. It's like, it's going to sound so rude, but I'm not very good at talking to people.
Yeah.
I'm pretty awkward socially, so if I stop, people are going to talk to me, and then I have to figure out how to have these conversations. And not that I don't want to meet people and interact. It is completely not that.
Who's that?
Not very good at it.
You probably know Bo Atkins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he does more talking to the crowd sometimes playing. I love him for it though, man. I love him for it.
And that's part of he's got that entertainer, that charisma in him, and it just. I wasn't blessed with that. Everybody's blessed with different things, and I didn't get that bone, but I don't mind singing in front of anybody. It wouldn't matter if the president was here. I don't mind. But that's talking is a whole different thing.
That's impressive too, man, because you have to be confident in your craft and to not be nervous about playing unless you said something. But you're talking about a special moment for someone else. It's not even for you.
Yeah,
so you're not nervous for you. You're nervous for them.
So I don't want to ruin their day. Yeah.
What's the most annoying requested song that you get that you're just like, man, I really don't want to sing this shit?
Man, being born and raised South Alabama, playing there, growing up, you're always going to get the Sweet Home Alabamas.
Oh God, yeah.
And especially here when people find out I'm from Alabama, I bet you love.
So you
to play
leave that out of you leave that out of the intro.
I'll make compromises with people to not have to play that.
You should do the Eminem version. Yeah. Living home in a trailer.
But I love Leonard Skinner, and I always pitch it like if somebody asks for that song, I say, hey, well let me make a deal with you. Let me play you my favorite Leonard Skinner song.
What do you go with there?
I love "Give Me Back My Bullets." Is one of my favorite Leonard Skinner songs. That I love. "I Ain't the One." "Double Trouble's good. "Swamp Music's good." There's so many good Leonard Skinner songs that are undervalued.
Leonard Skinner, "Call Me the Breeze." That Leonard Skinner. Oh, I love that one, bro. I love that one.
And that's actually a J.J. Cale song.
Okay.
But at any rate,
but they cut it.
Yeah, the thing about Leonard Skinner that, not that I don't respect because I can't do any of what they do, but being like an Allman Brothers fan, Allman Brothers are more or less a jam band.
Yeah.
All right, and listen to some of those guys, and they're improvising, which takes more skill than just learning and memorizing. Leonard Skinner, some people know this, some people don't, but Leonard Skinner would get together. When they rehearsed things, they played it on stage exactly like they rehearsed it, note for note. There was never any improvisation. So, not that it doesn't take talent, it takes a ton of talent to do what they did. And they were writing all that stuff, working with 3 lead guitar parts and stuff. And that's probably why they went that route, because if you didn't, everybody'd be stepping all over each other.
Yeah.
But
you had to be consistent with that many moving parts.
That's what I love about the Allman Brothers, though, is to have as many people on stage as they had, and it was just organized chaos.
Yeah, they could look at him like, oh, that does sound. Let's roll with that, you know. Yeah.
And same thing with the Grateful Dead. I'm not a deadhead or anything.
I'm not, dude. I'm not. There's so many people that are closet deadheads, man. Like if you bring that up,
it goes back to the drugs.
Yeah, you see people's eyes perk up. You're like, oh shit, okay.
It goes back to the drugs back in the days, and to hear that from like documentaries watching about the Grateful Dead, they would take all kind of stuff and go play their gigs, and so they would get in these rooms dark rooms with all these lights, and I guess that sounds counterintuitive, a dark room with all these lights, but it'd be like a rave, I guess you would think of it these days. But they'd get on mushrooms, on acid, on LSD, all these things, and they'd play their gigs. They'd just play for hours, but they might play the same song for 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's insane.
And it'd be so never a type of music that I would get into, but it all goes back into having appreciation for music and all the different ways that people go about it. Now, mine is a whole lot different than that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just so awesome to sit down and talk about all these things, because people, you hear behind the music or whatever, people don't realize that each person in the build up of how they deliver things and put things together, they have passion behind it, or they wouldn't be doing it all the time. And then the things you're passionate about, like all the way down to the pick, you know what I mean? That's something you take serious, you know what I mean? Where some musicians might just say, "I'll just play, just give me whatever," it's not a big deal.
And some people can go through life like that and they're probably way the hell better than I am. But for me, I'm a little bit, kind of a lot OCD about like my setup and stuff. Like, for example, like if there's cables on the floor and stuff, it drives me insane. And I can't be creative because I'm thinking about these damn cables on the floor over here. So like when you look at my rig, once it's set up, like I've got one line of cables going back to the mixer. And like, now behind my stuff, I don't care if it's a rat's nest back there where I can't see it and it's out of sight, out of mind. But it also goes into just your overall presentation. Like when you barbecue, right, and you're doing these competitions, right? What's part of it? Presentation.
Yeah, most definitely, yeah.
So
I'm so OCD about that shit. Don't get me going, man. Even just my setup to prep stuff has to be flawless, and it's annoying to most people. Like, dude, you're making a mess. I'm like, I don't care. I need to make a mess organized.
It's like that book, or I can't remember if it was a book or just a saying, but it was like a drill instructor or something that was saying like every day starts with making your bed in the morning. Yeah. And just part of being organized and having your shit together during the day. And I think about that when I set up my stuff. I think of it as a workstation. Mm-hmm. And so I want my workstation to be nice and clean and tidy where I can think and I can do my best work. And I can't do that if there's a mess around. But every part of my rig has a purpose. Like I use certain speakers, I use certain mixer, certain pedals, whatever, everything. I've probably put way more thought into it than I needed to, and I could have done something off the cuff in 5 minutes and been just as good. But I care about how it sounds, right? Because if you come and hear me for the first time or the 100th time. I want it to be consistent, but I don't want you to have an impression that doesn't represent my best work.
Yeah.
Right. And that, I think, goes a long way. I think at least goes a long way with people that will potentially hire you in the future.
Do you have plans to grow outside of this area? I mean, I know you play gigs in other areas, but like, do you have a trajectory, or you like how what's going on for you now, kind of thing?
That's something I'm still on the fence about, because I do get out maybe once a month, once every 2 months. I like to be in my bed every night if I can. That's a nice thing. But it's refreshing, really refreshing, to get out and play in front of new people.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, I had a gig a year ago up in Broken Bow. I booked this gig. The gentleman had found me on a website that I used, kind of like a wanted ad.
Gotcha.
Classified for musicians. And his family and friends were from Oklahoma City. They go down to Broken Bow each year, and he had found me on this website. So he booked the gig. I was like, cool, go do it. And I was just staying up there for the night, and I kind of undersold myself. So I stood to make like $200 by the time I paid $5 a gallon for gas and $150 for a hotel room, whatever. And was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna have fun. I got there, and there was maybe 15 people here at this cabin, and we were just out on the porch. And it's August. We're sweating, August heat. But they booked me for 3 hours. I think we ended up staying out there hanging out, talking, and for 6 hours that night. And just it was so refreshing, because throwing back to that smaller crowd, intimate setting, like they were more interested in me and just who I was and what I was about than they were me playing songs. And then we kind of just talked, learned about each other, and told stories, and it felt like
y'all were just picking and grinning.
Yeah, it just felt like a good night, man. And actually, that gentleman was the same guy that got me to come to San Diego.
Okay.
And then I was scheduled to go back up to Broken Bow to play for him a couple weeks ago, and we rescheduled. So in October, I'll see Mike and the gang up there again. But you develop those relationships. Yeah, that's true. So I wasn't mad about it one bit.
Yeah.
But you meet these people everywhere you go, and that's why you always have to put your best foot forward and always have your A game, because you never know who you're meeting, right? And all these people turn into opportunities. They turn into friends. They turn into clients or references. And so you treat everything as an opportunity. So that's part of why I played 196 gigs last year, is because I don't know how to say no to things.
Yeah.
So when somebody calls, like, I'm going to go do it. Because I'm not going to miss opportunity because I was lazy and said no.
Yeah.
Even if my fingers hurt, I remember there were times where I'm coating my fingers in new skin, trying to keep them from bleeding and make it through the week. And it's not always easy, but yeah, I don't.
And you're working a full-time job too. This is your.
Yeah. It's there's been times where either one has almost cost me the other.
I can imagine. So I've been there.
Yeah, but now I'm happy. I'm happy to say I've kind of found that balance, and it took a while, but I've done it. But a lot of people don't even know that I do something other than music. So that's always another thing when people talk to me and they're like, if I finish a gig at 9:30 and they're like, "Hey, sit down and have a drink," and I'm like, "Man, look, I got to be at work at 6 a.m.
Yeah,
I can't be hanging out." And that kind of, I really don't even drink anymore, because it's just, I'm getting older and it's harder to get up in the morning.
How old are you?
I just turned 34.
Okay, I'm 34 too, and I agree. I paced it way back. We had a competition last week, and for the past couple months I paced it way back, which I wasn't doing excessive, but still more than I probably should. I'd say 2 to 3 times a night, just a couple cocktails, whatever. And 2 to 3 times a week, excuse me. And I paced it way back, man, to like once every other week, and I feel so much better, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
the recovery time, it's
getting old, man. Like people tell you that shit when your dad, your grandpa, uncle, whatever. It's like, man, the bullshit's gonna get you up with you, blah blah. And some of them are road dogs; they just never stop. But me, dude, 2 or 3, and the next morning I'm gonna be dragging.
That's right.
I don't care. I just it's changed, you know. And I don't know if that's a perspective thing too, where you have goals and ambitions, and you're like, well, I'm more worried about that than just partying all night, you know.
Well, for me, my life's kind of changed now, where I've got Adrian and Rowan at home. Like, I've got a family to take care of now, and then one on the way. Like, it might be fun to stay out and have some drinks later after the gig, but it's like, that's my priority, right?
That's the exact same things happened to me. I think that's what's got my shit together too.
Well, it kind of makes that decision.
And then
easier.
the occasional drink when you do have those nights, you really feel like shit because you're not paced. You know what I mean? You're not used to it. You know.
But you're better for it.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So I don't like. I never had a problem drinking.
Right.
But it again just makes you drag in the morning. I don't need that.
Yeah.
I need every competitive edge I can get.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Well, look, man. Let's wrap this thing up. You got any plugs? Where can everybody find you at?
Well, man, I always like to talk about Two Johns, because Two Johns always been a good gig for me, and those folks over there are so nice. I'm there every first and third Saturday night of the month, so I'll be there tomorrow night. But no, I'm not really the plugging type, I guess. But I don't have a lot of irons in the fire to plug. But
Seth Bradford Music.
Yeah,
you on Instagram, Facebook, all the things.
Yeah, Seth Bradford Music on Facebook and Instagram, and now I don't know how you find me on TikTok, so I guess I shouldn't plug that. I think you can.
I'm sure if they search it,
they'll
figure it out. They'll figure it out.
But I'm there.
You want to close one more, man? Your pick.
I can.
Your pick.
Yeah. I could try and play a song. The one I was talking about earlier that I wrote in San Diego.
We're going to go with another original. Let's do it.
Unless you want something else.
No, whatever you want. This is your hour, sir. You close it out where you want to.
Met my love way down in New Orleans. She was born and raised a Cajun queen. Took her back with me to California, and I hope that Bayou wouldn't call her name. Said I love the palm trees, ocean views and seesaw breeze, but that ain't home to me. She apologized, wiped tears from my eyes. She gave back my key. I said my home is in Houma. Any place I go just don't feel the same. Said I miss those cypress swamps, moss-filled treetops. I love you, baby, but I'm going to Louisiana. There's too many folks here in San Diego. Smog in the air and crime on in the streets. The sirens replace the sound of those cicadas, and no one's ever heard of Etouffee. Fado don't mean nothing to you, and neither does laissez le bon temps rouler. My way of life might not sound too fancy, but I'll live and die in that Creole way. 'Cause my home is in Houma. Every place I go just don't feel the same. I miss those cypress swamps, moss-filled treetops. I love you, baby, but I'm going to Louisiana. I couldn't stand the thought of losing my best friend, so I hopped a plane just so I can see her again. Watching that sunrise on Grand Caillou, and I can say she's never looked more free. After all my time beside the ocean, I never knew this bayou suited me. Now my home is in Houma. Any place we go just don't feel the same. Well, I love these cypress swamps, moss-filled treetops. I love you, baby, we're home in Louisiana. But if you're looking for me, I'll be in Louisiana.
Hell yeah, man. I like it. Well, if anything else, at least you got them recorded now. They're going to be out there.
Yeah,
they're going to be out there.
I think I may go to the studio soon and do at least an acoustic version of those and put them out.
Hey man, you did be like Oliver Anthony. He just did it with his Android, put it on DistroKid, and the hottest song in the damn country.
Well, based on my history, I don't think I've got that kind of luck.
That particular song,
It's good.
you need to.
We like it, man. It's good.
The one about your daughter too.
That's great.
That twin daughters, but I honestly, that's really fucking good.
It's good, man.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
They're both good, but I think you blow the fuck up with that one. The one you just played.
We're gonna find out. It'll be out soon.
We
All right,
finna
bro.
see.
Appreciate your time today, sir.